right, the time is now 5:01. I'd like to call today's January 27th City of Bloomington Utility Service Board meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. I would like to start off by reading CBU's mission. City of Bloomington Utilities' mission is to enhance the quality of life in our community by providing safe, sustainable, and high-quality drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater services in a cost-effective manner, promoting public health, economic vitality, and environmental stewardship. If any board member has any personal or financial conflict with any issues or individuals on the agenda, then please be sure to recuse yourself during those portions of the meeting. Thank you. Are there any petitions and communications for items or topics not on the agenda? No, moving on. We are at approval of the minutes for the previous meeting from January 13th. Are there any questions about the minutes? I believe I have a couple. I believe that in the call to order, it said Board President Parmenter called the meeting to order. That was me who called it to order. And I believe in board members present, Matt has 2 T's, not 1. That was all I saw. Is there anything else? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're at approval of the claims. For payable invoices, we have a total of $874,778.84. Are there any questions about the payable invoices?
Notice the cost of the liability insurance is over $500,000. Has that been going up and up and up?
Yeah. It's going to go up even more for next year as well. So at least that's what Risk has been telling me.
Seems like an awful lot.
Yeah, it is.
Do we like shop around, or how does that work?
I hope so. That's all taken care of in downtown from the Risk Department.
Okay.
And then they have an allocation process that they go through to assign it to all the individual departments.
Okay.
It is my understanding that Risk is looking for, or is working with a new insurer to get the best rate we can.
I had a question for Matt. This first payables that we're approving, that's for the year end 2024, are we to the point where we're close to closing 2024? Or
Yeah,
will this be the last one?
That'll probably be one more.
One more?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably, yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome. Any other questions from the board?
Okay, I'm sorry. Jim, can you tell me where on here that, I just missed the insurance on here, and so, the insurance, where the,
It's on page,
Highland Group of Indianapolis.
thank you, okay. It's, maybe I'm just looking at the wrong page. That's why I'm confused.
It's in the next.
Okay,
It's actually
that's
in the-
why I'm
it's in the-
confused. Okay, thank you. I see it now. All right. So a follow-up question then, you mentioned that the city, this is our portions from the city. So how is that determined?
It's determined by, I think, trying to remember what they did. Give me a second here.
Thank you.
No, he didn't answer. He just said he would explain to me. I have asked that question, and I haven't got an answer on that one
Okay,
yet. Yeah.
thank you. I'm not doubting that that's not our portion. We obviously have our crews who are doing dangerous things every day, and so we certainly want to be covered. But just like with our interdepartmental agreement, we just want to make sure that what we're paying is our fair share and not more than that,
Understood, yeah.
for the ratepayers. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from the board? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The payables from, I don't have the date in front of me. 12/30/24 move, yeah. Moving on to the 131, we have a total of $1,304,254.38. Are there any questions on this? I know we've already touched base on some of them. Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Payables are approved. Moving on to utility bills. We have a total of $182, or $182,600.86. Are there any questions on the utility bills? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Utility bills are approved. And next, we are on to wire transfers for a total amount of $516,330.33. Any questions on the wire transfers? Do we have a motion to approve?
I move we approve the wire transfers for January.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Wire transfers are approved. And lastly, we are at customer refunds for a total amount of $2,568.49. Are there any questions on the customer refunds? Do we have a motion to approve?
I move we approve the customer refunds for January 31st.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Customer refunds are approved. Thank you. Moving on the agenda, we are now at the approval of the consent agenda. Catherine Zager.
Good evening, I'm Catherine Zager, Utilities Director. I'm presenting tonight's consent agenda totaling $42,049.60 for non-chemical contracts. The first contract is with Etica Group for $7,840 for the completion of a no-rise certification for the north section of Winston-Thomas. The second is with Wessler Engineering, Inc. for $15,500 for engineering studies evaluating best methods of ventilation for belt press room at the Monroe Water Treatment Plant. Next is with McAllister Machinery Company, Inc. for $10,464.60 for control panel for generator at Blucher Waste Plant. Next, we have one with Substation Electrical Testing Company for $8,245. This is for repair of high service pump number 4 at the Monroe Water Plant. Next, we have one with Polydyne Inc. for $1.60 per pound for the 2025 supply of polymer, Praestol K144 at Blucher Waste Plant. Next, we have another one with Polydyne Inc. for $1.60 per pound for the 2025 supply of polymer, Praestol K275 at Dillman Waste Plant. Again, we have Polydyne Inc. for $1 and $0.1495 per pound for the 2025 supply of polymer Praestol K110 at Monroe Water Plant. And then finally, we have Polydyne Inc., 73 cents per pound for the 2025 supply of Robin 120 polymer at Monroe plant. Is there any member who wishes to consider one or more of these items individually?
I have a question, but it's not to, like, for in consideration of the items, but I'd just like to ask a question after we vote. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll say, hearing none, if there's no opposition, these items will be approved as recommended by staff. Hearing no opposition, the consent agenda is approved, and happy to take questions.
Thank you. All right, so we're Polydyne Inc. for the polymer. Sorry, I'm not knowledgeable about chemicals, but I see that we have different types of Prednisol at the different wastewater treatment plants. And so in my mind, I would think, oh, well, that would be the same at both plants, and I can see why that Monroe would have a different one. So could you please provide some education? Thank you.
Education for that.
Thank you.
The reason is because they. Hector Ortiz, Assistant Director Operation. The reason is all three plants that have different water characteristics, so we cannot use the same polymer in each. This polymer, they are, three of them, they are for the sludge, for sludge treatment at the plant. Mm-hmm. So because the sludge is the waste from the whole process, the waste has already some chemistry or chemicals there.
Okay.
So that's why they need to be different.
Thank you. And then, so then, is there also sludge at Monroe?
Yes. So all the sludge that come out of the lake.
Okay. Different type of sludge.
Yep.
Okay.
That one are from the backwash as well. So.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Good. Thank you. Yep. You're welcome.
Any other questions pertaining to that? All right, moving on. We have a request for the approval of the 2023 interdepartmental agreement between the City of Bloomington Civil City and the City of Bloomington Utilities Department. Matt Havey.
So I know this is everybody's favorite topic, but this is the same process was done for 2023 that was approved for the 2020, 21, and 2022. I believe we did that in 2023. So the same process was done for the 2023 year. That we incurred for expediting the Clear Creek culvert. The city said that they would pay for half of that, so I included a $140,000 credit for us on that. And then also we went back to our billing records and found about $79,000 for credit card fees that the utility absorbed for billing sanitation. So we added that on there, so we're going to get that back. Everything else was the same process, just that the numbers changed based on the 2023 numbers. And I believe that after talking to the controller's office, that we might be looking into how to do this better for 2024. So happy to take any questions about it.
You knew you were going to get away with that question.
I know how this works.
Okay. So I want to look at the credits, then the green area. So the sanitation credit card fees, those were fees that we paid in 2023?
No, that's from the entire time that we were taking credit card payments for sanitation. So we went back, I think it was 5 years when we started doing that.
So that's ending though what date? I mean, that's what date through December 31st?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that's through December 31st of 2024. Okay, all right. So, what is the control 24/7 by CBU?
That's the communications office over there. We have a person there 24/7, 365, and they take calls for every city department, not just utilities. So we charge them for a portion of that.
And that is for a full year?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's all we get? I mean, if we're on, so they're on call 24/7 and they're monitoring CBU, what else?
CBU Street, Parks, and Animal Control, I believe.
So 4 divisions. So for a full year, I guess that number to me seems, I guess,
Would it help if I said that's half of the cost?
but if we're handling CBU and there's 3 other departments, why isn't it divided in quarters?
Into quarters? So I'm charging one amount. If they want to give it to other departments, that's for them to decide.
So basically, you're just saying we're splitting that, whatever that is, in half.
And then I'm charging the city for half of it, and however they want to
Okay,
spread that out over the other departments is up to them.
gotcha. That makes sense. And then the sanitation billing, is that calendar year 2024 or
3, but yeah, it's a calendar year.
okay. But you're saying the credit card fees went through 2024.
Well, yeah, we did that all at once since we're not doing the fees anymore. So I
Right.
just thought it'd be better just to clean it all up at once and be done with it.
That makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense. Those are my questions. Thank you.
I have 3. The first one's just, you mentioned something at the end about something applying to next year. I didn't hear that, but I am interested in the percentages and the frequency of updates of those percentages. Maybe it was related to that, maybe it wasn't.
It was. So what I'm saying is that we did the same process for 2023 that we done for the ones that we had recently approved. I think we approved them in 2023. And I've talked to the controller's office, and we're going to re-evaluate that for 2024.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
The second is regarding the solar panel leasing, and I think that the question's probably to Nolan. And if you can, I'll ask you to respond. Is there a way that we would be able to, either we or maybe the people that we contract to, the company that is involved in this project that we pay, is there a way that we could calculate the total number of kilowatts that we generate and apply some assumptions about the value of that to see how it compares to our 289,000 or whatever, just to have some check on whether, how the value of that is turning out. 224,000, sorry. Is there a way that we could calculate that and just have a number to compare to see if this is, if we're getting more benefit than we're paying, or how those two numbers compare?
Sure, yeah. Nolan Hendon, data analyst. Yeah, we can definitely look at how much we generated at each site and how much we're paying per kilowatt hour at each site and come up with a cost savings that way. And yeah, like you say, there's also should be something similar being done on ESG's end, the company we worked with. They have a measurement and verification professional who should be doing the same thing, so I can reach out to ESD and see if they have that data.
Okay, so we could get a value for them, and then how much effort would it be like for us to do that in-house to come up with a
It
comparable
would be
number?
pretty simple.
Pretty simple?
Yeah.
I would love to see those
Sure.
numbers. Okay, and then in terms of Article 2, payments from the civil city to CBU. So, what I don't see on here is some payment from the city to CBU for the public benefits of street sweeping that they accrue and that should be covered via taxes. And I've said this is probably the 4th time, but tonight I want to do something just a little bit different. I was at work and I thought, how's the best way to do this? And I thought, well, let's see what AI says. And if I Googled, what are the benefits of street sweeping? It comes up with 9 items, okay? And I'm just going to read them, and then we can decide for those particular 9 items, if we believe AI, and their answer, whether those should be for the city or the utility, and just in general categorical terms. The first category is safety benefits, and there's 2 items. One's reduce accidents, removing debris from roads, reduces the risk of accidents, slips and falls, hazardous conditions. I'll try to keep this brief. Second is protects pedestrians and cyclists, keeps bike lanes clean and safe for pedestrians and cyclists. So in my mind, and some might argue, but in my mind, those are civil city responsibilities. Second, environmental benefits. One, protects waterways, reduces the likelihood of local flooding, and protects waterways from harmful pollution. That's an MS4, right? That's utilities. Okay, we're good there. Improves air quality, removes particles and pollutants from the air, including toxics. So this is when the wind blows on the streets and it stirs up dust, it would protect our lungs, right? So to me, that's civil city. Reduces litter, helps eliminate the number of plastics and litter that end up on the sides of roads. So this is a aesthetic thing, maybe a public health benefit. So I've named 3 in the past. I've said aesthetics, public health, public safety. They're going in, their categorization's a little bit different, but to me, that's civil city. Improved drainage, ensures drainage systems remain unobstructive. Allow water to flow freely and prevents costly damage. Okay, that's utility, right? So 2 out of the 9 are utility so far. Other benefits, there's 3 more. Improves appearance, removes debris from streets and improves the aesthetics of municipal roadways. Aesthetics, to me, this is a city responsibility. Extends the life of paved roads, removes wearing debris and helps extend the life of paved roads and paths. That's transportation, that's city, that's not us. Saves money, okay, this is kind of general. Reduces the need for manual labor and prevents infrastructure damage. That could be both roads and obviously our stormwater system. So I'm not talking quantitatively anything other than, to me, 7 of those 9 categories are benefits that are that civil city should be paying for. So this is the 5th time that I've mentioned this. I thought I should enumerate these items a little more clearly, and thanks to AI, I was able to do that. But to me, because the people in City of Bloomington are the same, that are taxed, are the same set of people that pay a stormwater fee, because there's a separate Monroe County stormwater fee and City of Bloomington stormwater fee. It's not like anyone who is not getting charged or being charged, there's any difference in the amount of money. However, it would be more appropriate for these funds, or some of the funds, to come out of a taxpayer revenue stream and not a city of utility revenue stream. And this, to me, is appropriate, not just by opinion, but by law. And so I would advocate that we would, as we move forward this next year, come up with some defensible method to say, city, these are the things, this is the percentage that you should pay for, and here's why. And I've come up with a basis for that we could probably move forward with, but maybe we want to do a little more research. So 5th time I've talked about it. I'll say it again next year if I have to. Hopefully I can just rather collaborate and come up with a formula with staff and the board, of course. Thank you.
I guess I would ask before.
CBU took over street sweeping. Did CBU incur some of the costs of street sweeping since we got some of the benefits? And I'm just saying that, it cuts both ways,
Sure.
so.
I think a lot of the work that we do, and I think this, later in the meeting, I'll, mention some of this collaboration, but I think a lot of the work that's done by the different departments in the city, especially CBU and DPW, there's a lot of overlap and synergism there. And so you're right, we didn't pay for when they were street sweeping, but we did get the benefit. And they're, not currently paying for the street sweeping we're doing, and they're getting a benefit. I think right now we've tried to take the approach of splitting the labor of it into, hey, we're going to design our routes based on the MS4 benefits. So our goal in sweeping is MS4. Our goal is to protect our waterways and to clean up our curb lines. But DPW still has a sweeper or 2, and they clean up after wrecks, and they take call-outs still. right? Yeah, they're still taking call-outs for obstructions in the road. So some of those things they're still taking care of. And also, I would say that some of the things in that list aren't necessarily just a streets thing, like protecting the integrity of the pavement. That's also an MS4 issue. If we're protecting the integrity of the pavement, we're stopping it from crumbling more and getting more of that into our waterways. So there is also like, I think a lot of those do have overlapped with how they're benefiting us. So I think it's worth taking a look into of like, you know, are the scales even, or are the scale, you know, like what does that look like, and are we contributing the right parts of our labor to the right parts of towards our missions, right? They have their missions and we have ours. And we've really tried to tailor our street sweeping to be very specific to our goals. Our routes aren't designed based on, we want to keep this road pretty because people like this road pretty. Our routes are designed based off of land use, based off of how much traffic there is, so the likelihood of having more pollutants. And we can come back and present more of that data again, kind of based off, like what these routes were based off of. But I do think we've been trying to be very cognizant of saying like, this is why we are street sweeping for the MS4 and making sure that the way that we do it benefits us the most. But there will be synergies, there will be overlap. This weekend, you know, BPD was out with us, out with our crews. DPW was out salting around the main breaks to make sure that, you know, we were kept safe and that, you know, it didn't negatively impact the citizens of Bloomington. And, you know, that's just kind of how we have to work as a city sometimes. And I understand legally with like, we don't want to pay for their services, but I think we'll have to look at like, is it justified for us to pay for street sweeping? Because so far I think we've made the argument, like, there are arguments for it. Is it enough? We can look at that in the next interdepartmental.
Okay, well, if I'm a lone voice here, that's fine. I still feel like, even based on what you said, there's benefits that are accrued by the city for for reasons that I just stated that occur. And yeah, we may not design for those to happen, but they do happen. And prior, the city paid for it. And you know what happened in the past, Jim, happened in the past, and that's fine if there's some good way to account for that. I just want to make sure, it's kind of my thing, is to make sure that we have the appropriate charges going to the correct utility, and the utility paying for what the utility should be paying for, and not the city's expenses, which historically has been an issue here. And I think we're doing a better and better job about that. This is one loose end that I think we can deserve some more attention. So I'll leave it at that for right now, if that's all that the board cares to do. But I would. It's my opinion that we should give this more attention and see if there isn't some amount that the city shouldn't be paying in next year's interdepartmental agreement.
We're still completing the memo so the last part of our contract with Second Nature, who has been helping us design all of our routes and design our program. The last aspect of that is they're going to provide us with a technical memo that will give us the kind of next steps if we'd like to take them, what we can continue to do to, you know, keep our program on track or grow our program. And so I think we still have time to maybe ask them like, hey, what, you know, do a quick analysis of that, of like how much of this is benefiting the MS4 versus benefits to city infrastructure.
If we're going to go back to the city, it's got to be a defensible proposal, that's for sure. So whatever it takes, I'd advocate for that, but again, one voice.
Yeah, this is probably a Megan question, because
County resident?
Um,
Is that where we're headed?
Yeah, I think at least last year and maybe the year before, the question was raised, and I think it was by Megan, about how these percentages are determined. And I think specifically, you were asked about human resources and IT. Do we really use 30%? How is that arrived at? Does CBU use 30% of human resources time and ITS work? Or do we have 30% of the workforce if you combine the city and CBU? And I'm not sure we ever got kind of answers. And when I look at, $300,000 for human resources, I'm wondering, couldn't we hire our own human resources people for a lot less than $300,000?
So that's what we're going to evaluate for the 2024 one. We're going to take another look at these, because these were, I think, created over 5 years ago. And so it's a pretty different world now. So that's something that we are going to look into for the 2024.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'll make one comment about Jeff's points. And I don't know, I know it'd be probably comparing like apples to oranges, but what if we selected a different city to research that their utility also does the street sweeping? And does their utility pay their city, or I'm sorry, does their city pay their utility a portion of that because of the taxpayers? I just think that would be interesting, since we've looked at other cities for other projects too, like the other projects that Molly's on that committee for. That's
Good idea.
Great dialogue. Any other questions or comments about the interdepartmental agreement? Do we have a motion to approve?
It's so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The request for approval of 2023 interdepartmental agreement between the city, Civil City, and the Utilities Department is approved.
Okay, thank you. So I was wondering, what's our timeline for the 2024 interdepartmental? Okay. Which is, I mean, this is good that we've got the 23 one approved and it's only January. But, I guess I would expect by mid-year, we should have all of our, even probably by the end of the month. I know you're commenting about things. Well, that's wrapped up now. So, that at some time we could, like February 1st, we're approving the agreement for the current year. Because really, I think we would like to get where, we're approving the 2025 agreement in 2025. Right?
26.
Okay, because we're always we're not paying ahead, we're paying back what we spent.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
So it would be nice to have the 2024 one by the end of the first half of the year. Yes, I would agree to that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, moving on to line item 7, a request for approval of professional engineering services agreement with Wessler Engineering. Mr. Dan Hudson.
For the record, I'm Dan Hudson, Capital Projects Manager for the City of Bloomington Utilities. Last year, we experienced a failure of one of the alum tanks at the Monroe Water Treatment Plant. After thorough inspection, we found that the other tanks were near failure and the main pump was kind of in bad shape too with the piping. Because we're down one tank, we have about 2/3 capacity, which is required by IDEM. IDEM requires a 30-day storage of alum, and we don't quite have that. So I'm asking the board to go in under a design with Wessler for $105,000 for the design of the alum tanks. this is a strict replacement, but logistics is important on this job because the tanks, new tanks are fairly big, and we're still working on how to get them in the building. But that will be determined. So this is a design contract, not a construction. I'm open for questions. Yes.
What is construction on these types of tanks going to cost now?
The construction cost, I don't have the construction cost yet. That will come out of the design.
That's right, because we did not replace the other one.
No, this is the design to replace the
Okay.
existing tank.
I
The
mean,
tanks
are
are
we talking like $1
original.
million a tank, or?
No, I imagine it will be a little, well, I hate to
Yeah,
put a number
no, I
to
mean,
it.
I'm just kind of curious of, well,
It's,
you know,
$800 to $1 million,
is what a tank, because
No, that's for the whole job.
Oh, for the whole job?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it kind of depends on
Sure,
how
it
to
all
get the
depends on
tanks in
this,
the
yeah.
building, yeah.
Yeah,
And the old tanks would come out.
The old ones will have to come out, and that's easy. You just
Okay.
cut them up and take them out.
sure,
Getting the new
okay.
ones in, that's a little different.
Okay.
So we're going to need some structural engineering cost and what we're going to have to do with the building at that point.
You
And
mentioned that we're out of compliance. Is there any downside to that? Or because we're acting on it, it's okay?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
If we were ignoring it, we would, through our sanitary survey, we expect that we would get a notice that we would have to do this. And so we're acting on it now, so we're kind of preempting IDEM and saying, hey, we're taking care of it,
$105,000 is a lot. I mean, it's not just like it's a big project, I think.
Yes,
And
yeah,
so, when we're considering other potential projects at Monroe, and you're talking about figuring out ways to get these tanks in there, are there going to be other things that we have to figure out how to get in there? Is there things that we can learn from this study or consulting agreement that we can then apply to future things? Or is this just, we have to get this done right now and this is what it is, but we know that other similar, I don't exactly know what all is coming, that needs to come at the Monroe. I just know there
Well,
are improvements that need to be made.
There's a lot of projects that need to be done at Monroe, and one of the ones that is coming up for bid here soon will be the chemical feed lines and the replacement of day tanks, and that's a pretty big job, but that's in another building. It's
Okay.
not really part of this
So
one.
that's, I guess what I'm getting at is none of this is everything is just kind of jobbed out. It's not like a cohesive one consultant planning it all and one company doing all of the work. It's
No,
just going to be bid out all separately.
It is,
Okay.
yes, right.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dan? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Approval for the professional engineering agreement with Wessler Engineering. Next, we have a request for approval of amendment number 1 to on-call agreement with Wessler Engineering. Mark Menifee.
I'm Mark Menifee, utility engineer. I'm just requesting approval for the First Amendment for the on-call agreement with Wessler Engineering. They perform maintenance and repair on the SCADA control systems, and we need to amend and add $15,000 to the existing $25,000 contract for a total of $40,000. Any questions?
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank
All
you.
opposed? Motion carries. Lastly, we have a request for approval for agreement for services with McAllister Machinery Company Incorporated, Tony Eads, or Hector.
Do it for Tony. It's Hector Ortiz. Assistant Director Operation. This is a project that we needed to do through an emergency because safety issues or safety issue related. The transfer switch wasn't working right at Dillman. The transfer switch for power generator, and the mechanics they will doing it manually, and the amount of voltage that run through that thing is high. So to try to make it more safe, well, to make it safer, we ran it through an emergency. Here for any questions.
Hector?
I guess. This is maybe a more I don't know. Anyway, usually our contracts that are maybe below 25,000 come through the consent agenda sometimes. And this one did not, because it's an emergency. Okay. So, I'm sorry. What would the difference would have been if we would have put it on this consent agenda that we just approved versus we're approving it at this time?
Just because it's a special purchasing
Okay,
process, and we want
a
to
special
have
process, okay.
And we would want to have the opportunity to discuss with the board the emergency situation, so we just keep it outside of the consent
Okay,
agenda.
thank you.
Yeah, there's no regulation that says we can't put it on the consent agenda.
Okay.
But because it's being used through a special procurement process, I've always just had them not on the consent agenda.
Absolutely, thank you, special process, okay, thank you.
Good.
If I remember right, we don't have enough generator capacity to completely run that plant, so what part does this do?
It is not new. It is we've got it fixed, but this generator only run the pump station, and it will run only 3 pumps. So let's say if we don't have any power, we pump to the EQ. We only have 3 pumps, so this power generator only will feed for those 3 pumps. If we do not have it, then we will have sewer running. If we don't have power generator, then in some place it's going to overflow.
So this generator we have there that
Yep.
you're gonna get fixed, pumps it over to the storage.
To the storage, yep.
That conceptually will hold it until we get the power back
Until we
up.
get the power, yes, yes, exactly. And it fixed. That's why we did it through an emergency. It fixed.
Right. So about how much of a day's average use can we put in that basin before we have to get the power back?
We can put up to 40 million gallons. So if we are in average right now about, with the snow melting, about 12, 13, we have 3 days, something,
Great.
probably
Good
about
deal.
3 days.
If they can't get the power back up by then, we got bigger
We
problems.
will, yes, yes,
Okay. Good, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? Do we have a motion to approve?
Yeah, so move it, we approve this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, number 10, old business from the board. Old business from staff? No? That's okay. New business from the board? New business from staff? Subcommittee reports. We did have a subcommittee.
Committee met today to discuss the appeals process and specifically thinking about whether to do that at subcommittee meetings. One thing that came up in that meeting was the realization that we were not recording or taking minutes on those meetings. So Chris Wheeler's going to, or I think Chris is going to find out about that, whether we need to. But until we figure that out, we definitely won't be discussing any appeals in subcommittee meetings. Based on the number of appeals, we recommend that they still be done on a case-by-case basis. presented at a board meeting, and then if we can get more information before the next board meeting, we'll make a decision if it's not a clear-cut topic. Chris will try to get us the legal basis for appeals in advance if we can, so we can prepare ourselves. And if the appeal is related to a larger topic that we want to discuss, we will consider doing that discussion in a subcommittee. And noting from the Director Zager that Title 13 may be resulting in some different kinds of appeals, we can educate ourselves in advance with Title 13 to prepare for those if we choose. That's it.
For that report. Staff reports.
First, I want to take a moment to commend and appreciate our crews who were out working to repair two major main breaks we had on Friday, one at College Mall in the bypass and the other on Bloomfield Road this weekend. These were really difficult repairs in challenging traffic conditions and in inclement weather, but our crews managed to get it done like they always do. So I just want to say thank you for all of your hard work. I'd also like to give a special thank you to the Bloomington Police Department for helping to redirect traffic and close the streets, and to Public Works for salting the ice that was created by the main breaks in this weather and providing other types of assistance as well. They both helped to keep our crews safe during these two large concurrent main breaks on Friday, and we are so grateful. And also, I am over the moon excited to announce we have our new Assistant Director of Environmental Programs, Kelsey Thetonia. All right, that is all I have for today.
Welcome and congratulations to Kelsey, and thank you to everyone who was mentioned, the staff, the other city departments, for all the work that was done on Friday and every day. All right, petitions and communications from the public. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.